is Joe Betar.
This is Ramon Robles.
And we talk to fascinating people about their love of hunting, shooting sports, and the outdoors. This is Hunting Matters. How's it going?
It's good to see you, Joe Betar.
You too.
Look at me drink coffee.
Sure, that's coffee. That's what you tell everybody. What? Does that coffee make your forehead sweat? Why are you sweating like that? Or is that bourbon?
Look at me. Okay.
Looking forward to this week's show, man.
Yeah.
Dan Adler, he's the owner and he's an outfitter of North America's largest big game and hunting and guide service, Diamond Outfitters. And he also owns a company called ZeroOutfitterFees.com, which we're going to learn a lot about today. And very patriotic gentleman.
Yep.
Formerly with the U.S. Air Force and very energetic.
Now, sadly, though, and we got to disclose this at the beginning, he only has about 30 million acres to hunt on.
Yeah.
So take that with the grain. Maybe you can find somebody different, better. I don't know. But
and only like, 14 to 15 species that you can hunt.
Yeah.
So, I figured if you can't find something to do with Dan, then you're SOL. So, but Dan Adler is our guest today on the Hunting Matters podcast.
Dan, what is the largest animal you could single-handedly take down with your bare hands?
For me personally,
Yeah.
I have no idea with my bare hands. I'd much rather have my bow and arrow.
Well, of course you would, but that's the question
That's
we ask
cheating.
all of our guests.
I guess I can actually answer that, and I'll try to give you the shortest version. When my son was 8 years old, we were in South Africa, and he put a one long shot on an impala that we actually had to physically capture and tackle and take down and dispatch without a firearm. Wow. So I'm going to say an impala. South African impala is the biggest animal that I've physically tackled and taken down. I did have assist from a tracker. I've got to mention him.
Yeah.
But that was an actual football tackle in a heap of dust, where we had to finish the job with an 8-year-old son. And when you put a knife into an impala, an 8-year-old, it's very impressionable, and it was very impressionable for me too. I assure you. And memories he'll never forget. Neither will I.
That is phenomenal. Let me just follow up, if I may, with that. It's nowhere near your story because I'm not anywhere exposed to your life.
You got your knee-high boots on, Dan, because here it comes.
Here it comes.
We just moved into a new house. I have my first son. He was about 3 or 4. And in our plan was a snake. Now, I'm ignorant. The first thing I think of, I can't sissy out now because my son's watching me. Well, stupidly, I don't know. I grab the snake to, throw it away. And I grab it and I throw it over the fence. And only later did I realize, that could have been, have been something that had killed me.
Yeah.
But I did it just thinking, okay, don't chicken out, because normally I would have just run away or whatever. But your son's watching you. It's not taking down an impala with your bare hands, but, the snake must have been, I don't know, 30, 40 feet long. Okay, maybe.
Come on.
Yeah, it's about that big.
Probably your lack of awareness probably saved you.
Probably it was a rat snake, I guess, but still, it's it's the things you do for your sons.
Wow. Yeah, you got to do what you can to protect your family.
All right, sorry to interrupt the
Snake
show.
wrangler,
Yeah,
Ramon.
I'm kind of a big deal.
So, Dan, you are the owner of Diamond Outfitters, and where are you based out of?
In Prescott, Arizona, which is a mountain town in the south end of the Rocky Mountains, about 2 hours northwest of Phoenix. So that kind of puts us on a map, kind of dead center west in the state. And we're about 6,000 feet here. And that puts us within a couple hours drive of just about every big game animal that lives in Arizona. And then our company also guides in New Mexico, Utah, Wyoming, and Nevada through our affiliates with Zero Outfitter Fees. But I live right here in Prescott, Arizona. We moved here almost 10 years ago. We had been living in Tucson at the time, but the drive times to go check trail cameras on the North Kaibab and an Elk Camp was a day or two's drive. And that was back when trail cams were legal in Arizona. And by moving here, we eliminated all that, and we're able to do all the work we need to do and still pick up the kids from school. So it's also a much more conservative town. Prescott, Arizona is really well known for history as far as Arizona being the territorial capital before we were a state, and just a beautiful place to raise a family.
Sounds incredible. And how old are your kids, and are they already involved in the outfitting business?
Yes, very much. My son just turned 18. He's a freshman in college this year playing baseball here in Arizona. My daughter's entering her sophomore year in high school, big time into volleyball and softball. Also involved in the business. I have an all-day speaking engagement on Saturday for the Arizona Elk Society. It's an elk university. They helped me at my booth there. And then we're heading out to your guys' neck of the woods in August for a bunch of speaking engagements as well. And yes, the family's very involved in business. My wife retired from physical therapy about 6 years ago to be full-time with Diamond Outfitters and Zero Outfitter fees as well. So it's definitely family-owned business.
Wow, stepped away from a physical therapy career. That's a big switch. I used to be a physical therapy aide for a couple of years. The reason I know a little bit about it, and I was a registered nurse at one time practicing.
It was a big step for her. It was a big step for us. I left the Air Force to start this business, so we on the risk spectrum, we're risk takers for sure.
So you said you're coming to Texas in August?
Yes, we've got all the TTHA events out there. Houston next week, then Fort Worth, and then San Antonio.
Okay. Well, listen, man. If you're in state August the 10th, come out. We're having a big party. Houston Safari Club Foundation's having a big get together on August the 10th. You're more than welcome to come and be my guest.
Thank you, Joe. I saw the invite. That looks like an amazing event. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your background. So you were in the military, right?
Yep.
Is that straight out of high school?
Born and raised in Arizona.
Okay.
Straight out of high school, I went to the University of Arizona. And at the University of Arizona, I joined their ROTC program.
Right.
So that was in the mid-'90s, came out as an officer, second lieutenant in the United States Air Force, did 10 years of active duty, and then the reserve time was about another 7 years. It didn't count towards retirement or anything. But as I've recently learned here with different things going on in the world and my friend circles, I very much still have, my brain doesn't know I'm out of the military, from the way I run my businesses, to my life, to my family, to my patriotism, my love for God and country, the way we celebrate freedom. Even on our website, it literally says right there, we're very unapologetic about the freedom in this country. And if there will be an American flag in all of our Diamond Outfitters hunting camps. And if that offends you, that you're not a fit for us, like, we're pretty upfront about who we are. We're very confident in our identity and what we stand for, and the patriotism that we believe. One way to celebrate freedom at the highest level in the United States, especially, is to go hunting. If you travel around the world, if you look around the world at the examples around the world, most places hunting like we have on public lands doesn't exist, or it only exists for the kings and the queens and the absolute elites. So this is such a privilege, not a right, but a privilege that we have to cherish. We have to share, we have to grow, and we have to vote to make all of that happen. And we're very unapologetic about that at Diamond Outfitters and Zero Outfitter fees.
I commend you for that, because that's the first thing I saw when I went on your website, months and months ago. It was the message and the transparency of your patriotism. Has that, I guess if somebody jumps on your website and sees it, they're like, well, that's not right for me, if they're against that for some ungodly reason. But has that hampered you at all? Because you guys are very, very busy.
I don't think it has. I think there's a lot of people out there that have actually, even if they didn't book with us, they said, hey, I want to call you and let you know. I've never seen a hunting website like that. I've never seen somebody that is so comfortable in their own skin, being that forward with what they stand for. Because usually think of the hunting business as dog eat dog and super competitive. I've never seen it that way personally. I've always felt like if we just look at Arizona and throw out the other states we're involved in, the amount of hunters that go hunting every year for big game in the state of Arizona compared to the amount that actually go with a guide or an outfitter, more or less a full-time one like us, is such a small number, right? So if we say less than 5% of all the hunters in Arizona, whether it's elk or sheep or deer, are fully guided by an outfitter, then I'm my real only competition. How hard am I willing to lead generate? How hard am I willing to build on these relationships and make sure nobody just hunts with us one time and never comes back? How hard am I willing to build for the future, whether my son or somebody else takes over this business in 100 years? And I think through that mindset and one customer at a time is how we've become the largest outfitter in North America. We were for a while just the largest veteran-owned outfitter in North America. A couple years ago, we became largest outfitter in North America, at least by understanding. And again, that's not something that I'm going to give myself credit for. That's on the back of my 61 guides, who a lot of them are active or retired military and first responders. That's on the back of my wife. That's on the back of our director of operations, our executive assistants. We have an incredible team. And we've been able to build one client at a time with that mindset. I kind of don't like the cliche, come as a client, leave as a friend, but that's what's happened for the last 19 seasons in the Diamond Outfitters camps. So I know it's cliche, but it really matters to us. Relationships matter. Longevity matters. I tell clients straight up on our post-hunt surveys, if somebody only hunts with us one time, in a lot of ways, that's a failure to me. That means we let them down. Now, there's exceptions to that. People that are trying to finish the North American Slam just need that one Coues deer, and then they're done with this continent. Sure, we might just get to host them one time, but that still means they're part of the family. We still have that relationship. They're still referring business to us. So it has not been a hindrance. It's either helped us or it's been very neutral. But I've also got very comfortable with, hey, we're not for everybody. It's okay if you don't hunt with us. There's other good outfitters. Obviously, I think we're the best and we have something to offer that nobody else can. But if we're not a match for you, that's okay. And I don't think I was like that 19 years ago when we started, because I had just left the military. My wife's in physical therapy. We'd given up a lot of income. So, I like to joke in some of my seminars that if you could fog a mirror 19 years ago, I would take you hunting, right? But now it's not like that. We want to be very close to our, what I call our adoring fans, our most loyal customers. And if we repel everybody else, I know that's a strong word, but if we repel everybody else that's not a fit for who we are, I'm okay with that. I mean, think about it this way. If I'm going to spend 7 days with you, you're going to become my battle buddy. Yeah. And if we're charging, going after big bull elk or Rocky Mountain Bighorn Sheep or Coues deer or mule deer with a bow or rifle for 7 days, through the weather, through the trials and errors, the blood, the sweat, the tears, we're going to be battle buddies. And honestly, at this point in my career, if I'm not going to enjoy that 7 days with you, then I don't want to book your hunt. You should book with somebody else. I want to hunt with people who are extremely passionate about the sport, give back to the sport through philanthropy and donations, who believe in freedom, believe in our amendments, believe in our Constitution. And if you don't, that's okay. You can go book with somebody else. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
What is the minimum level of experience someone should have when they come knocking on your door?
To be hunted to hunt with us, or to be a guide? To hunt with us, you can absolutely be a beginner. If you look at diamondoutfitters.com, you will see a lot of youth hunters. You'll see a lot of first-time hunters. You'll see a lot of lady huntresses. We have been literally hundreds of people's first deer, first elk, first antelope, first javelina, first mountain lion, first black bear, first oryx, ibex, aoudad. We take all experience levels, and all experience levels need something different from Diamond Outfitters. A beginning hunter needs everything. Yep. How do I know that's an elk track and not a beef cattle track? How do I know how to anticipate the wind and make moves? How do I know what that bugle says about that bull elk's behavior? An experienced hunter, somebody would say, well, why would somebody that's hunted elk, let's say for 20 years in Colorado, book you in Arizona or New Mexico or Wyoming, Utah, Nevada? The answer is they see the value in 30, 40 years of scouting and time in the unit. So yeah, they may have killed a lot of elk. They may be a very successful elk hunter, but they understand the value proposition of someone who knows the area, knows the animals, has scouted it their whole lives for decades, is going to bring to them, because they don't have the opportunity. Most Americans don't have the opportunity to come out a week, 10 days, a month before their hunt to figure out what the elk are doing, the deer are doing. And even if they did, guys, the moment that first arrow is released, the moment that first rifle shot goes off, the older, more mature bucks, bulls, boars, they know what to do, and only the top-end outfitters know where those animals go under duress. So even, especially the non-residents who come in to these states with a good hunting background, whether it's mule deer, elk, or something else, they don't have the ability to pattern these animals for weeks or months ahead of it like we do. So all ages, all backgrounds are welcome and have been successful with our camps.
All right. So imagine, picture in your mind that first-time hunter.
Yeah.
And then take off about 80 IQ points, and that's me. Is that going to be okay?
That is totally okay. Right. We are more into the mindset. Like, if you're willing to do the work, okay, you're mentally and physically prepared for your hunt. You've prepared with your equipment, and you understand that we're going on a free range hunt and we'll see what happens. I like to make this comment. I think you guys will appreciate this. I don't have anything necessarily against high fence, estate type hunting, especially globally, but none of the hunting I do in 5 states with Diamond Outfitters or zero outfitter fees on 30 million acres is fenced. So all my stuff is free range. Okay. So I like to say, and I think you guys will appreciate this, whether or not you kill your target animal is between you and God. My job is to arrange the meeting, and that's what we're really good at, right? Yeah. So I'll put you in front of that buck, bull, ram, boar, tom, whatever the case may be. What happens between you in that moment is not up to me. But if you screw it up, we'll go and do it again.
Yeah.
And some guys think, oh gosh, my guide's going to be really mad at me. I missed, or I didn't take the shot when maybe he thought I had the chance. Our guys are very seasoned, very experienced. We take our hunting seriously, but we don't take ourselves so seriously that we forget to have a good time. Yeah. So I often talk about at my seminars, the reason why I'm a so-called expert, why I get to talk about all these big game animals at all the conventions around the world every year, is because I've just screwed it up so many times. We had somebody give us a statistical number here at one of the elk events last year. Our team has harvested over 700 bull elk in 19 years. That's a lot of, my back knows that, right? But my brain didn't know that, right? So if you think about harvesting 700 elk, understand how many that means we screwed up.
Yeah.
How many stalks I blew for the client blew for me, the wind shifted, a car drove down a road that wasn't a road. Lightning, every way you can imagine screwing up a hunt is what's happened to me and my crew. And that's what makes us so-called experts, is we've just screwed it up a lot that we get it right now.
Yeah.
So you don't worry about your IQ points. If you're here to celebrate the flag, if you're here to celebrate freedom, if you're here to have a good time, and in the off season, you've done your job to get mentally and physically fit. And the mental part is as important or more important than the physical, because if the body gives up and the legs are tired, but the brain still wants to chase that bugle, the legs will work.
Yep.
However, if the legs are ready and the brain wants to give up, the legs don't work. So that mental preparation for these hunts, especially your big mountain hunts, is equally or more important than the physical. And if you've got the mental and the physical and you're committed to your equipment and practicing and training with your bow, rifle, muzzleloader, we'll take anybody. It's people that aren't willing to do that or think they're entitled to a 350 bull elk because they wrote a check. That's where there's a lot of discourse in my mindset versus theirs. Like, hey, as I said, whether you kill or not, it's between you and God. I'm going to arrange the meeting. But if you can't get to the elk, you don't know how to find the safety on your rifle, there's only so much I can do for a guy or gal.
Yeah. Dan, how long have you been doing this? And kind of what was your journey into hunting? Did you start hunting as a kid or?
Yeah, I was actually a little bit of a late bloomer. I am first generation hunter in my family. We do have some fishermen in my family, but not a lot. And so I started hunting in 5th grade with a gentleman who's still one of my very best friends today. He's actually been featured on our TV show several times. His name is Greg. I was literally just talking to him a couple hours ago today. We've been friends for 40 years. He introduced me to hunting through going on these 4-wheeling trips in Arizona's North Country. Growing up as a kid in Phoenix, I was a city kid. So being introduced in 5th grade, I think I was 11 or 12, to Northern Arizona and seeing an elk for the first time literally changed my life. Now, did I think I'd grow to become the largest elk outfitter on the continent? No, but it changed my mindset. It changed my spirituality. It changed my appreciation for nature, like instantaneously. So as I went through high school and then college, and going through college, knowing that I was in ROTC, knowing I was going to be in the United States Air Force, I was going to be a commissioned officer, I really thought that was going to be at least a 20-year career, and then I'd retire. And it was at that 10-year mark where it's like you're in for the duration or you're not, where a couple of things had happened. Number one, I had really started studying entrepreneurship at a kind of a high level for a late 20s-year-old kid. But I had also watched a lot of my heroes and guys that I looked up to in the Air Force that I was serving with. They had left the military or retired. In some cases, they had their 20 years and had gone into entrepreneurship and had been wildly successful. And so that was when my wife and I had these high-level discussions for probably a year or more. And we said, hey, if we were going to get out, what would we do? And I said, man, I'm going to bet on myself. And outfitting is one of the businesses I would consider opening. We opened more than one, but the outfitting was the one that I hoped would take off. I prayed would take off. I worked for, and my family worked for tirelessly. We didn't have a second or third guide on the team for at least the first 3 or 4 years. So I was everything, as a lot of small startup businesses are in any industry. I was the guide. I was the cook. I was the guy that set up and tore down the tents. I was everything. And that lasted that way for several years. So that was like 2004 where I was still in active duty, where I still started really thinking about getting out and starting Diamond Outfitters. 2015, we're kind of in business. And then 2006, we had our LLC and we were full-fledged, ready to go. So I treat it as like this is our 19th hunting season. If we looked at it from like purely a paperwork perspective, it's our 18th season. If we look at it from a spiritual 30,000 foot view, I've been doing this for 30 years. So it really depends on how you look at it. But as a company, we're at that 18, 19 year mark. And it's been amazing to see how we went from, 6 to 8 hunts a year to several hundred hunts a year in 6 states now in multiple countries.
How do you keep all the plates in the air? I mean, that's a big load. I mean, you guys are billed as the largest full-time guide service in North America, and you've grown that obviously over the last 19 years. But you got to be heavily reliant upon your staff in all these different locations, geographical wise, and managing all these hunters and all these different opportunities. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm so blessed, and you're exactly right, Joe. And you know how it is at HSC. I mean, you are leading a team of professionals, and so your capability. You have the same 24 hours a day that I have. We both have the same 24 hours, and all three of us can only accomplish so much in a 24-hour period, right? So if you want to scale, if you want to grow, if you want to take things to the next level, you have got to surround yourself with good people. Not people, good people. People that want to be on your ship. They want to see the business succeed. They want to see it grow. And that's a process, right? I didn't initially know how to hire when I first started my own company, because in the military, people were just assigned to my unit. I was the officer in charge. You worked for me. Pretty straightforward. Uniform Code of Military Justice, pretty clear written. How we work on these airplanes and fly these airplanes, pretty straightforward. It's in a checklist. But when I was an entrepreneur and owned my own company, started expanding, there was a lot of trial and error. I made a lot of mistakes. I'll be very candid. I screwed up some friendships, not intentionally. My heart's always been in the right place, but overworked, underpaid, underappreciated. School of hard knocks. And through that process, the trials and tribulations, we've had people that have been with us now for well over 10 years. And again, there are a lot of my first responders, active and retired military, cops, firefighters, paramedics, border patrol agents, even a retired game warden or two has been on our staff. So we have had to absolutely surround ourselves with the best people. We've had to double down on their buy-in and wanting to be part of the culture, not just the company, but also the culture. We've had to compensate them like nobody's ever compensated in the industry before. We've brought on full-time guides where very few guides in North America are full-time. If you interview 10 guides for your podcast, you'll find that 9 out of them, if not more, have another Monday through Friday job, and then they guide on the weekends. They talk about your PHs overseas. Those guys, much like me, are full-time, and that's where I've stolen a lot of my models, is from doing those overseas hunts with those PHs and learning for them how we could do something similar here. So it's been surrounding myself with the team. I will tell you, my wife's not in earshot, but it did scale us when she left physical therapy to join Diamond Outfitters full time. It scaled us because I didn't know just how much admin I was doing. And that is not the work that helps us grow. That was the work that needed to be done, but that was not the work that got us more podcasts, more TV shows, more clients. That was not lead generation. That was paperwork that had to be done. I think all of us can appreciate that there's admin in our lives that has to be done. But when my wife came in at a high level, and then April came in to be my executive assistant, and then Ryan came in to be my wife's executive assistant, but also our director of operations, when Matt Woodward came on full-time 5 years ago, that really allowed me to focus on the relationships with our clients, the relationships with our sponsors, the relationships with our conservation partners like Houston Safari Club. That allowed us to scale because I was able to do the things that my business and our clients needed me to do more than anything else. And that was the magic for us to scale, was surrounding ourselves with the very, very best people. And we're not done. A good company is always recruiting. Even if you don't have any spots to fill, you're always recruiting. So I'm always looking for the next great all-star guide for Diamond Outfitters. It's an ongoing process, and it always will be.
It's funny. No matter how well you know this land, you always seem to get lost in it. That's because it's your escape, your place to reconnect to nature and yourself. At Capital Farm Credit, we're proud to help people like you purchase recreational land where you can hunt, fish, four-wheel, or simply get lost in. To learn how we can help you secure land like this, visit CapitalFarmCredit.com. Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better.
Hunting Matters is presented by DEA Ranch. Are you looking for the ultimate South Texas hunting experience? then look no further than DEA Ranch. DEA Ranch offers some of the best whitetail and exotic game hunts in South Texas year-round. Whether you're looking to fill your freezer or put the next hunting memory on the wall, their professional guides are focused on ensuring each client has a memorable and exciting hunting experience. DEA Ranch offers guided hunts, professional staff, chef-prepared meals, trophy preparation, and more. To learn more, go to DEARanch.com. That's DEARanch.com. Hunting Matters is presented by RC Cartridges. Founded in Italy in 1970, RC Cartridges is a family-owned business dedicated to technology, innovation, and shooting excellence. RC has a historic legacy as a provider of ammunition for Olympic champions, and they are constantly evolving with the goal of producing the highest quality cartridges available. RC is as passionate about shooting and hunting as you are. Whether it's hunting or shooting, steel or small caliber, RC Cartridges has the shotgun shell options to meet your needs. Go to rccartridgesusa.com to learn more. That's rccartridgesusa.com.
When seconds matter in the game, every single decision made can mean a big win or a frustrating loss. When it comes to buying your next home and selling your existing home in the current market, every decision can mean serious money. Aggie fans, it's Dave South, and as you know, I've studied the best players and the best teams to represent our A&M family. One thing I've learned over the years, the best coaches have the respect of their team and the 12th man, you, the fans. In Bryan College Station, no realtor has more 5-star reviews on Google than Lance Lester and his team at the Lester Group. Why is that? Simple. No one offers more options that benefit you. If you want to buy your next home before you sell your current home, Lance can help you do that. If you want to know the date and price that you can count on your home selling for, Lance can guarantee it in writing. When the game is on the line, you want a leader with a proven track record calling the shots. Get your home sold faster and for the most money. Work with my friend Lance Lester and the Lester Group. Go to thelestergroup.com. That's thelestergroup.com and experience lightning in a bottle selling your home.
Are you interested in breeding exotic wildlife as a method of generating cash flow for your ranching operation? Wildlife Partners is an innovative wildlife conservation company that is the largest breeder, buyer, and seller of exotic wildlife in America. Let them show you how wildlife breeding and ranching can help secure the future of animal species while generating cash flow and substantial first-year tax deductions. Wildlife Partners serves more than 500 private landowners in Texas and numerous conservation-minded investors throughout the U.S. Non-landowners can also own wildlife. To learn more, go to wildlifepartners.com.
I want to dovetail on Ramon. What's your name? Ramon. I didn't sleep well last night.
All right.
Ramon's question earlier, he was asking about how do you qualify people and look at hunters and that sort of thing and evaluate them. How do you guys look at guides? What are you looking for in a guide? I know every guide's your need for the guides are different based on the hunting styles and the animal and the species and the geographical location, that sort of thing. But what do you do when you vet guides?
Great question. I wish more people would ask that, actually. So in the old days, 19 years ago, it was me and some buddies. We were all really good behind binoculars, which is really important for out west. And I had actually been on a guided hunt while I was still in the Air Force that was terrible. And I actually thought to myself, boy, if this is where the bar is, I can do better. The guide community can do better. I could run a whole business because I can do 10 times better what this guy did. Not because I'm some magic guy, but just because he didn't do the baseline stuff well. So when I first started, it was just a small group of us. And I would say they didn't really need training because we were good glassers, we were good hunters, and it was a small community we were working with. Now, what happened as we grew was everything changed, right? Now we have guys paying us a lot of money because this is pre-zero outfitter fees. They're paying us a lot of money to go on these trips with us. And we had to be this was not like a buddy system anymore. So the direct answer to your question is kind of like this. If you're new to Arizona, so this happens to us. We'll get a kid coming out of the military from Texas, Florida, Maine. I'm talking to a guy from Maine right now. And he's like, I want to become a guided diamond outfitter. When do I start? Right? Well, it's not quite that easy. Now, it could be at some outfitters that are part-time. It could be at, the fish and docks where they need more deckhands, right. Not saying that with any disrespect at all, but some things it's immediate on-the-job training. However, over 19 years, our clients have learned to know that nobody scouts like us. Nobody understands the different trophies, the different species of the 14 different animals we hunt like us. Nobody geeks out on what do they eat at certain times of year? Where do they go under certain pressure? Why does their behavior change when all these trucks shows up in hunting camp that haven't been here for 4 months? So you can't just bring somebody in from Maine to the West and give them that information overnight. So what happens now is if somebody has no experience out west, they go into an internship. One of my top young guides right now, we call him Tater. His name is Keegan. It's a big part of our TV show in January for a Coues deer hunt in Sonora. He came to us from Ohio. He interned for like a year and a half. He was 19 when he started. Interned for a year and a half. I mean, making barely enough to go by, eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And now he's one of my full-time absolute studs, absolute rock stars. He's very quiet. He's very humble. He'll probably even hate that I'm saying his name on the podcast. But we groomed him, not just me, Daniel, Matt, my whole team. We groomed him into an absolute killer. And if we would have just brought him in and Joe or Ramon showed up at one of our camps and like, there's your guy, the 19-year-old kid from Ohio. At first, somebody might look at him and underestimate him. But now they could come to me and say, well, now he's 21. Who's this 21-year-old kid with the Ohio license plate? It's like, dude, 24 hours. Let's have this conversation again. Yeah. You go hunt with them one morning. If you have any concerns, I'll guide you myself. And that will be a downgrade, by the way, if I guide you myself. That's how good Tater is. So we have an internship program for new guys that aren't local. If they are, however, experienced local hunters or they've been guides before, then they can kind of go straight to guiding with us. I check their references. I check their resume. I check their background. We do face-to-face interviews long before this happens because they don't just have to be good hunting guides. They also have to be good at something that's not always in the guide industry, and that's customer service champions, right? You've got to care about the meals. You've got to care about how camp looks. You got to care about timeliness. You got to care about the safety briefing the night before the hunt starts. You've got to care about the paperwork. You've got to care that the latrine is clean. Not all outfitting business are great at that. We're really good at that. So now with the leadership team we have in place, there's a lot of guides that we can bring in, young guides or interns, and in a season or two, get them really spun up to be what I call a lead guide. When you're a lead guide at Diamond Outfitters or Zero Outfitter Fees, that means, I can call you. I can say, Ramon, your client's name is Jim Smith. Here's his phone number. Here's your check. I'll see you in a week. That's a lead guide. Everybody else up to that point kind of has to work/earn their way in. And we've had tremendous success with that program. As insecure as I was to start it way back when, it's been famously successful because we're bringing guides, both men and women, in through our system that have only ever known our system. So any bad habits that they could have come from, whoever they hunted with or outfitted with before, they don't have that. We're literally grooming them. And so they know our culture, they know our standards. We call it the Diamond Standard naturally of what our clients' expectations are. And so it's a much smoother transition than it would have been even just 5 or 10 years ago. I always joke that, gone are the days where you grab somebody out of a Home Depot parking lot and say, with a pair of binos, and go, there's your client, there's your guide, let's go. We are a professional outfit. If people say anything about us, one of the things they'll say is they're absolute professionals. And that's, I think also part of that is my standards of hires. I talked about the internship program, but also having a lot of people that do have a community service or national service background as military or first responders. So it's been a good blend for us and it's working very well.
Yeah, I think attention to detail is key, and it sounds like you guys, you especially pride yourself on that. From, like you said, from cleaning the latrine on up, and I think that's important, Ramon, to some people that have not hunted a lot in different places. You don't have A to compare to B. Yeah. But I remember one time I was up in Minnesota and went on a whitetail hunt, and when I left, they handed me a framed photo of me with my deer, and I still remember that. It was just a little thing. Yeah. Probably a $10 frame with a picture of me with my deer, and I went home with that on the airplane. Yeah, and that those little attention, that attention to detail makes a huge difference. And as Dan, as you know, having been in this business, it's not that people are always looking for something wrong, but the things that are wrong stand out the most, and they can definitely overshadow that experience.
Absolutely. That's why we call it the Diamond Standard. So what are those things that other outfits or other non-professionals might overlook? Are we checking with the clients weeks before their hunt? Do they have a favorite meal? Is there anything they're allergic to? Do they have any limitations we need to know about? If a guy can't go 6-7 miles a day, can only go 1 mile a day, he's going to have just as good a hunt as somebody else as long as we're prepared for it. So that professionalism, that attention to detail, and to be fair, a lot of the stuff I just screwed up on in the past and learned, we don't want to do that, right? So, but then again, surrounding yourself with professionals has made a lot of difference as we've grown, especially now. Right now, we have a very established reputation. We're known for quality. The funny thing is I never sought out to kill the biggest elk in the world, although we killed a 458 last year and a 440 the year before that.
Wow.
I never set out to be that guy that was the absolute pinnacle of these trophy species out west. It's happened through building a great team, and it's happened through having great clients who appreciate what we stand for. We appreciate what they stand for. But these are people that are willing to do the work. They're not entitlement based. Again, they don't think, well, I wrote a check, so I'm going to kill a big elk. Yep. There's nothing to it. I just show up and it's going to stand there tied up to a tree. So I think a big part of our success is who we've invested in and who we've hunted with. And we've drawn the attention of the right people, so to speak. And we do advertise a lot, but I will say over 50% of our business is still word of mouth, is still referral based, 5.0 Google average, except the occasional animal rights activist that sneaks in there and gives us a fake review. Yep. But when a good friend of mine told me this, you guys can probably appreciate this. When you treat guiding like a business, it can pay you like a business. If you treat it like a hobby, it'll pay you like a hobby. And in the last 19 years, probably by year 2, I was treating it like a business. I got very serious about it. I've invested my family's livelihood and all of my military income that I saved into the business over the last 19 years. And so I feel very blessed, very fortunate. If you actually saw the day-to-day, you would see that at this point, I'm really almost the tip of the spear. It's my team. It's Matt, it's Daniel, it's Tater, it's Mike, it's Lane, it's Katie, it's Terry, it's Ryan, it's April, it's Joey. Like, it is a massive effort, like you guys were saying. I mean, we're talking hundreds of big game hunters a year, 6 states, multiple countries. And my job is to take care of the guides, because I know if I take care of the guides, the clients will be happy, and to take care of the clients. We have a monthly live Zoom town hall where they can catch up on different states. How's the weather? How's the antler growth? We're trying to do things that outfitters haven't notoriously been well known for. Communication, I'm sure you guys have heard over the years, not something a lot of outfitters are really well known for, especially if they're in the bush 4 to 6 to 8 months out of the year. We've surrounded ourselves with a great admin team that can pick up the phone when it's not me, Matt, Daniel, Tater, and those guys. So it's been a big part of our development, something I take a lot of pride in. But the funny thing about me, and this is maybe over the top or entrepreneurial, I read a stat not that long ago. It's very motivating. You guys will appreciate this. It said 11 million people in the United States bought a hunting license last year in the 50 states, and about 2.5 million bought a hunting license in Canada. So combined, let's call that 13, 14 million. Well, if we're the number one hunting outfitter in volume in North America, and that doesn't make us best, our customer service and our guides is what makes it best, but we don't even represent a fraction of 1% of that amount. So I'm more excited about the future for Diamond Outfitters and Zero Outfitter fees than where we are now, because if there's 13, 14 million hunters out there, we're representing such a small amount of that group. Yeah. And same way I feel about Houston Safari Club. We've got a great membership at Houston Safari Club, but there's 13, 14 million people. And how many of them aren't members yet? So I'm so excited about the future for both our organizations compared to even our great successes in the past.
Yeah, I agree. Hunting Matters is sponsored by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Under the visionary leadership of founder Johnny Morris, Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's is leading North America's largest conservation movement. Together with their partners in conservation, they're positively shaping the future of the outdoors through donations, grant making, and advocacy. The 501c3 Outdoor Fund raises funds to support conservation efforts by activating more than 200 million passionate sportsmen and women, rounding up their purchases in Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's stores and online. Visit BassPro.com or Cabela's.com today.
Turn a gun you like into one you love. You'll shoot better with the Boyd's Hardwood Gun Stock. Upgrade your firearm to Boyd's and your gun will fit you better and look better. Boyd's uses only top-grade hardwoods because a hardwood stock performs. Boyd's gun stocks are engineered to fit precisely on its specified gun model. Their engineers have continued to perfect manufacturing methods since 1981. That's why you get far more gun stock for your money. Boyd's makes gun stocks for hundreds of gun brands and thousands of models. Shoot better today at boydsgunstocks.com. Nobody wants to imagine an emergency on a hunting trip, but when the unexpected happens, you want the team of medical and security experts at Global Rescue to be there for you. Global Rescue Operations Centers are staffed by experienced personnel, and you'll always speak to an expert on the first call. With unparalleled capabilities to transport members to their home hospital of choice, you'll get back to your preferred hospital, not the closest. So, trade what-ifs for peace of mind with convenient travel services designed for the unexpected. Learn more at globalrescue.com/huntingmatters.
Gunworks is a Cody, Wyoming-based manufacturer and provider provider of premium long-range rifle systems, optics, components, and training. Since 2006, Gunworks has led the charge in innovating and engineering premium quality long-range shooting technology, equipment, and techniques with a singular goal of providing hunters the ability to achieve quick and effective one-shot kills at whatever distances shots are encountered. The Gunworks team is dedicated to service and perfection in purpose-built products ready for 1,000 yards out of the box. Learn more at gunworks.com. That's GUNWERKS.com. The Houston Safari Club Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that supports the future of hunting and conservation. Wildlife and habitat conservation, youth education and outdoor experiences, scholarships, and anti-poaching efforts are just a few of the programs supported by this organization. Monthly events, an annual convention, award-winning publications, networking opportunities, and valuable resources for hunting knowledge are just a few of the benefits of being a member of Houston Safari Club Foundation. If you're searching for a group of people dedicated to protecting the future of hunting, look no further. Join Houston Safari Club Foundation today at wehuntwegive.org or call 713-623-8844. So
walk me through, if I decide to book a hunt, walk me through that process. And it doesn't, not specifics, but just, broad strokes. What does that look like?
Sure. So there's there's technically 3 ways of doing business with us. I recommend most clients do all 3, but it's up to them. And the first thing I do is I understand what your needs are. So, and that's backwards from what a lot of businesses do. They say, here's what we do. This is here we are. This is what we're about. Like it or leave it. Right. Mm-hmm. Our conversation moment would be, all right, what are your hunting goals? What states? We do 38 different hunts for 14 species on 30 million acres in 6 states, plus international. So let's have you look at that list on either website, Diamond Outfitters or Zero Outfitter Fees. Pick those ones that are most exciting to you. Then let's have a conversation about archery, rifle, muzzleloader, or don't care. Then let's have a conversation about physical fitness levels. What type of hunt do you want? Do you want to be on horseback? Do you want to be out of a base camp? Do you want to stay at a hotel? Do you want to stay at a lodge? So we kind of take this giant, massive monster and bring it into what's most important to Ramon. Mm-hmm. Once we know what's important to Ramon, then we look at 3 factors, or we look at 3 opportunities, I should say. Over-the-counter hunts, which means we just go to Game and Fish and you buy your line tag and we go hunting. Landowner tags, which means I'm buying from the landowner. They're guaranteed tags. We get to pick the year you go hunting, and we just go hunting and you pay a fee based on a landowner tag. So over-the-counter landowner. The third option is the draw hunts. Now, the draw hunts is what gets really exciting for me, and I think for consumers, because as you guys can appreciate in the certainly the last 20 years, but especially the last 5 or 6 years, the cost of going on hunts, whether they're DIY or guided, has skyrocketed. Mm-hmm. I mean skyrocketed. In some cases, it's triplicated. So when somebody says, well, I think I'm more interested in these draw hunts because they're more affordable, that's where I get excited about our hunting membership. It's the largest hunting membership in the world. It's called Zero Outfitter Fees. And literally it says you pay an annual membership of around $800, and any and all big game hunts we get you drawn for in 5 states, Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, we guide you for free. So this year alone, over 50 people have drawn these hunts at over $500,000, $500,000 in savings that I'm paying the outfitter, whether they're hunting with us or one of my outfitter peers. So the options again are landowner. We're just pick a date and go, whether it's elk or deer or whatever. Over the counter, which is the state just issues a tag over the counter, let's go hunting, or the draw hunts. Now you don't have to be a Zero Outfitter Fees member to do the draw hunts with us. You could still pay full price. But what we've done is we've cracked the code on draws and getting our clients drawn for the most hunts. We're saving them the most money. And then all the additional benefits that come with being a Zero Outfitter Fees member, like a free gold membership in Rolling Bones Outdoors, free application service in 50 states, 25% off to 50% off savings on some of the biggest hunting and fishing industry-related companies in the world, whether it's rifles or scopes or boots or coolers, fishing reels, rifles, you name it. All your discounts alone can pay for your membership. So those are the 3 things we go over the counter, landowner, or draw. A lot of our clients do Zero Outfitter Fees, and we put them in all the draws, but also at the same time do an over-the-counter or a landowner hunt, because that's a guaranteed date. You've got the assurance you're going on a hunt. Mm-hmm. And as a Zero Outfitter Fees member, you get $500 to $1,000 off that hunt anyways. So it's a total win-win. Yep. And those are the 3 ways you'd hunt with us. And again, a lot of clients pick 2. They pick 2 of those 3 ways. Some do all 3. And the nice thing about our business is because we have the access to landowner, over-the-counter, and draw, we can book a hunt for you that starts in 2 weeks. Literally, I could book you a hunt today and you'd be hunting in 2 weeks. I could book you a hunt that starts in 6 months. I could book you on a hunt right now that's in the United States, Mexico, or somewhere else overseas a year from now, a year and a half, and 2 years. So one of the things I love about Diamond Outfitter Zero Outfitter Fees is you are totally in charge. You have all the leverage. I look at Diamond Outfitters and Zero Outfitter Fees as this massive toolbox full of tools. You pick the tools that work for you, and then we absolutely customize everything around you. It's really kind of revolutionary in the hunting world. That's not what you typically see. Yeah. But it's worked well for us, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, as the price of hunting has gone up so much so that it's priced out most blue-collar workers in this country. And now with Zero Outfitter Fees, everybody can afford to go on an elk hunt. Everybody can afford to go on a Shiras moose hunt, a desert bighorn sheep hunt. I've got a guy in Nevada this year. He's the first year in the program. He drew a desert bighorn sheep tag in Nevada. That's a hunt that if he wasn't a member, he'd be writing me a check for $15,000. He's literally going for free. Like, I don't know how else to say it, but it's free. He paid his license tag, his membership, and his guide tip. And so we've revolutionized that process. And because we do all the draw paperwork for our clients, we're total leverage. They just set it and forget it. So those are the 3 ways we could do business together. And I'm very confident, Ramon, that after this podcast, you're going to be our next sign up. No pressure.
You know, I have had podcasts that have cost me more than that. So there is a good chance. Yeah.
Good. And then Joe's going to sign up.
Yep. And the thing is, and I do want to point out your websites, Dan, ZeroOutfitterFees.com and DiamondOutfitters.com. Ramon, I know you're kind of in your infancy in your hunting phases, but the drawing and the tag system, state to state, and figuring out what it is and it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So having Dan and his team, somebody like that can just basically babysit you through the entire process it's worth every penny because Dan, it's a huge, just confusing jigsaw puzzle, state to state and year by year, isn't it?
And deadline to deadline. I mean, there's just in the 5 states, there's 11 different draw deadlines. Wyoming and Arizona, for example, they have 3 deadlines each. One in February, one in May or June, and another one in October. That's just in 2 of the states. So to know that, in the course of that conversation with Ramon about you want to do landowner, over the counter, or draw, or a combination of all 3, just to know that once he walks away from that meeting and just puts down a $7.99 membership fee or $74.99 a month, if he just wants to do a membership fee monthly, we could do that too. When he walks away from that meeting, he literally knows that Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, all the applications he wants, not what I want for him, all the applications he wants are going to be done for him. Plus, for free, the other 45 states, he could tell us what hunts he wants to be applied for, and we'll do that too as a value-added service. Then he's got our monthly live town hall. He's got all the seminars that I do all around the country. He's got our discounts on hunting, fishing gear, plus discounts on hunting and fishing trips domestically and internationally, all with his membership. So it's total leverage. He literally washes his hands. He walks away, says, Dan's got it. The admin team's got it. I literally just wait for the phone call saying, hey, you drew Arizona Coues deer. Hey, you drew Shiras moose in Wyoming. Hey, you drew mule deer in Nevada. And we go hunting. And, now you don't have to worry about writing a check. So you guys will appreciate this in some of my marketing material. It says unconditionally wife approved. And it is, because if you were already having the discussion about going on a $15,000 Shiras moose hunt, and now the conversation is, no, it's just $74.99 a month or $800 a year, and it's free. It's very agreeable because you can make your membership pay for itself with the benefits like we talked about earlier. So it really is unconditionally wife approved. Yeah. What I've tried to do, guys, I think you're picking up what I'm putting down, is make it where it's a total win-win for the consumer, and there's no rhyme or reason why they would say no, right? Yeah. There's no rhyme or reason why they'd say no. And to prove that to you guys, I'm kind of throwing this on you. You can edit it out if you want, but anybody that joins Zero Outfitter Fees from this podcast, I will buy them a Houston Safari Club membership. And every year they remain a Zero Outfitter Fees member, I will continue to renew their Houston Safari Club membership. And guys, if you look on our website, you'll see through our philanthropic efforts, we've raised over $1 million in 5 years for Second Amendment and hunting conservation-based activities. I put my money where my mouth is. So do our clients, and that's my commitment to you and our joint members.
Oh man, I can't. Awesome. That's awesome. We're blessed to have that offer, and we really appreciate it. And as Ramon Dan has supported us through donations to our live auctions for convention and that sort of thing. So he's not blowing smoke.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely supports conservation organizations, and that's huge. So folks, you heard it there. Sign up to become a member at ZeroOutfitters.com, and you're going to help out a great organization, give back to the hunting community through scholarships and youth education programs and conservation grants all over the world. So, Dan, you alluded earlier to female hunters. Are you seeing a big upswing in female clients?
We are. We're actually even a little bit higher than the national trend. I think 2 years ago, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was 2 years ago that women into hunting had, for the first time ever, exceeded youth hunters coming in. Mm-hmm. That's good and bad. It's good that there's been that excitement for lady huntresses to come in the industry. But it also says that we still got work to do in our communities and our schools, making sure that hunting is conservation and it's not something to be scared of. And, rifle hunting or bow hunting is not something to be scared of, or it's not a threat to society. We still have a lot of work to do there, and it's getting worse and worse. Fingers crossed for the next election. But that all aside, yes, we've seen an influx. What I might be more proud of, Joe, than just the amount of female huntresses is the amount of female guide interviews I've been doing as of late.
Really?
Quite candidly, in some cases, they are more capable of some men guides I've interviewed. They also seem to be smoother under pressure. Remind me of a lot of people I served with in the military, where I've seen some guides, male guides, men, under pressure, just yell at the client, shoot, this is your chance. I've never had a lady guide. Of course, we train our guides not to do that, but I've never had a lady huntress guide do that. It's been that calm resolve. Hey, wait for him to turn broadside. Let's double check that yardage, control your breathing. Remember, we talked about your trigger squeeze. Take your time. Okay. And never that, if you're not excited, your client's not going to start getting that buck fever, bull fever is bad either. So yes, not only have we seen an uptick in lady huntress clients, but even more so as guides. And I think that trend is going to continue. I think the last few years in our country, we have seen a resurgence in hunting, but a big part of that, I think, while the world was shut down a few years ago, I think the ladies in our lives got out in the woods more. And what if you're locked down, why not go out to the woods? I know that's what my family did a lot. We spent a lot of time in the woods, and I think that's where a lot of ladies fell in love with the woods and said, oh, now I'm starting to understand what my husband was so excited about. Now I get what my son's so excited about, and I want to have that in my life. And so there's been that uptick. And I actually think, just thinking on this podcast, I think in some ways I get more excited about those phone calls because the ladies under pressure are fantastic. The ladies' customer service is fantastic. And they have this innate desire to please their client, the innate desire to please our operation, and their loyalty. I find is really second to none. I'll give a shout out to Katie, young lady who's coming through our system, started as a cook and is now one of my guides that I want to build for the future around a young gal like Katie. Just a total rock star in everything she does, rides for the brand. When she's out fishing on the weekend, she's got her diamond hat on and her diamond shirt on. So yes, not only a resurgence, but pretty significant growth curve is what I've experienced.
The other thing I hear time and time again, year after year, is from women who are educators in the outdoor space tell me that once women get involved in they in Texas, we have becoming some, it's all over the U.S., but the Becoming Outdoors woman, we had a guest, Heidi Ray, on a couple of times not too long ago. She leads that effort for the state of Texas. And what she tells me is every time she posts a course, it sells out. And I said, well, that's great. That's awesome. And she said, what we find repeatedly is that if women get into hunting or whatever they get into, they tend to, more than the man, drag the whole family in there with them. Mm-hmm. So that's encouraging. They're dragging their kids out to hunt and fish and that sort of thing. So that's kind of the perspective I look at it. You're right. We need to do a better job or try to knock down some barriers and obstacles in our school systems, which we constantly face it, even here in Houston, dealing with outdoor education related hunting and fishing. But it seems anecdotal information that we get is that if the female in the household goes out hunting, they drag the rest of them with them.
Absolutely. And that's what we're seeing too. I would say when the lady huntresses draw, they're more inclined to add non-hunters to their party, whether it's the kids or the husband, things like that. So that's a trend that I think is very, very certain to continue and really critical to the preservation of the sport. Right.
Now, are you still doing outdoor television? That's how I first became aware of you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I started with Pulse Factor TV a little over a decade ago as a small TV show based out of their headquarters were actually in Wisconsin. So I got to go back to Wisconsin. We did hunts around the world, around the country for them. And then in one of my big speaking engagements at one of the national conferences, I was invited to become part of the Best of the West television show. And at the time I joined, Best of the West had already been on about 6 years. They were number 4 in the United States for viewership. They were number 2 or 1 in Canada. And it's literally just from a speaking engagement where I had a nice standing ovation. It was a really beautiful evening and raised a lot of money for conservation that night. And they approached me and said, hey, I think you should come see what we're all about. And I kind of, you'll laugh at this. So go back 13, 14 years ago, I primarily by trade, I'm an archery hunter. And it's funny because a lot of people think Best of the West long-range rifle hunting. I became a long-range rifle hunter, not because I wanted to become a long-range rifle hunter, but because when I saw the equipment, so when I saw the equipment that was out there, the improvement in the rifle technology, the accuracy, and the long-range scopes, what I thought was, okay, the angle here isn't about Dan Adler and Diamond Outfitters. The angle here is about less wounded animals. And now when we can't close that extra 100 yards, clients can not only harvest that animal, but they can do it ethically. So when I saw that component, that's when I jumped on. I ended up doing 10 seasons, I believe it was 10 seasons for Best of the West TV, all over the world. And a lot of them were fundraisers for like our Africa episodes were all about, we brought a bunch of Purple Hearts out. You could see where the military theme keeps coming back to me. It's funny how much I thought I was a patriot before I went in the military. Then when I was in the military, all of that pales into comparison to being veteran. Like I just focus on what these guys and gals are doing around the world all the time. Obsessive like that, almost like my hunting, to make sure that we're taking care of those folks. In any case, it's about 10 seasons worth. And then as Best of West ran down their TV show and became kind of like an online TV show only, like a lot of TV shows have done here in the last few years, we started Diamond Outfitters Television. We ramped it up very slow. We did an episode for 2020 when I did an elk hunt in Arizona, my own elk hunt. And then this year, 2024, we filmed a Coues deer hunt with 3 of my leaders, including myself, in Sonora, Mexico. Both those episodes, both the archery elk episode and the rifle Sonora Coues deer episode, were very, very viral. They're on our Diamond Outfitters YouTube channel. Not because of long range hunting or anything like that, but I think one of the things we do very well on Diamond Outfitters Television is if we screw something up, we show it. If we do something that embarrasses ourselves, we talk about it. Like, that's not for the editing room floor. That's what makes our hunting real and transparent. And that's what we enjoy. So it's funny you ask, because Nick Stella, who was my camera operator videography way back when on Pulse Factor, just in the last week has become one of our major marketing players. And so he's filming a bunch of hunts for us this year. So we only did 2 Diamond Outfitters television episodes in the last 3-4 years, but now we're going to do double that just this year alone. So Diamond Outfitters Television is becoming its own thing. It won't be on a cable network. It'll be on our YouTube channel and on our website. But the main reason for doing it isn't actually to grow the business. The business is doing fine. It's because the way I think if you guys watch it, I'd love your feedback. But I think the way we do our shows, we're human. We screw up. We have fun. We may or may not get a deer or an elk or a sheep or a bear or a lion, but it's going to feel like you're in the hunting camp with us.
Right.
And it's going to feel very authentic. And I think that piece is what's going to help the show grow. We're not doing it for the notoriety, although I'm sure there will be clients that book because they saw the show. But and I think if we could get even one new hunter a year to come into hunting, whether they ever hunt in Diamond Outfitters or ever become a Zero Outfitter Fees member or not, but if we even recruited one 12-year-old kid or one person a year would make a difference, I'd be happy. Because you never know, that one person could grow into the next greatest Fred Bear, the next greatest conservationist in the world. So I'm happy if we only make a difference of one person. I think our capacity is greater. But if we can touch one life, and that influences hunting, conservation, the Constitution, the Second Amendment, it was worth it.
Yeah. Well, you and I both, you've been involved in outdoor television longer than I have, but we've both been involved in that world. And the more realistic the show is and true to life, the better. Because we've all seen a lot of bad hunting shows, whether it's bad ethics, bad performance, or listen, I'm just going to whisper for the next 10 minutes and tell you everything you saw for the last 20.
Yeah.
It's refreshing that people, especially you guys, are starting to do more. Here's what it is. My mother used to have a saying that face, ass, and hands, this is who I am. And that's what you need to show in hunting. I mean, people make mistakes. You have screw ups in camp. You have screw ups in the field. I can still remember as a kid watching Bill Dance fishing shows and things, and that guy repeatedly caught fish and fish, but they always had the blooper reels, so he was actually showing it. It's not polished, it's not clean, it's not always pretty, and you need to show those things. And that's, I think people need to, especially new hunters and new people need to see the realistic stuff. So, well, man,
I'm sure you're one of your best memories of Bill Dance is the snake that falls out of the tree and he falls off the boat. I mean, every sportsman or sportswoman from the last 3 decades knows that moment very vividly. And I'll just add one thing to that. Several years ago, we had an elk camp, and the whole week we were talking to our elk clients about Friday night, ribeye night, Friday night, ribeye night. Like, this became a thing. Like, we were all counting the days down. Well, Friday night, ribeye night comes and goes, and we get a call as we're making the ribeyes that one of our clients and this guy is bringing in a bull elk. So, of course, massive euphoria in camp, right? So we see the headlights coming for the last half a mile or more. So he gets in, we all zoom around the truck, we're visiting and talking about what happened and hearing the stories. Ribeyes have been on the grill. And I will tell you, thank God we were an hour and a half away from a pizza delivery parlor where we sent a young guide in to go get like 8 pizzas. And our ribeye night became hockey puck night, but the pizza saved us. If there hadn't been a drivable Pizza Hut, we would have literally had like cereal or donuts for dinner on ribeye night. So yeah, there's a lot of things that happen. I'm writing eventually going to release a book called Suck Less at Hunting, and it's going to have a lot of those stories, guys falling in the latrine at camp after being mass complainers the whole week about how bad their life was. And then, they literally fell in the cat hole. Like, anyways, yes, there's so many things that go wrong in these hunting camps. In some ways it's a miracle where we ever are successful in some of these hunts. But I do think it goes back to, we take our hunting seriously, but maybe don't always take ourselves so seriously. Yeah. You guys can appreciate this too. I've had a lot of clients over the year that are like, man, whether they're watching me on TV or at a seminar or a podcast or just on the phone, they're like, you are a totally different person when that bull elk is within like 400 yards. Like, I've known you for years, but your attitude changed, your mindset changed, your dialogue changed when that elk got within 400 yards, your whole personality changed. I said, well, that's the difference between me as the hunter and your friend and being able to flip that switch and be a killer. Right. So once he's in my range, I'm not your friend anymore. This is you are my friend, but we're now on a mission. It's a mission to be successful. I don't feel like there's any compromise. I don't feel like we're going to fail. I'm very, very focused. So yeah, I may have said, get behind that tree or take this position or do this or do that. Excuse me. But that's because we're now in the heat of the battle and it's about to go down. And oh, by the way, you either paid me a bunch of money to get you to this moment, or you've been a zero outfitter fees member to get you this moment. And I'm going to make sure we capitalize on it. So yeah, I may revert to Captain Adler in the moment, but when it's all done and we're successful and there's much joy and celebration, I'm right back being to your friend and buddy. But I think that's really important amongst hunters, because I often say there's hunters and there's killers, and maybe that's not politically correct, but keep in mind, 20% of the hunters take 80% of the trophies around the globe. And that's in large part because they can flip that switch between being a casual hunter, which there's nothing wrong with. A lot of my clients are casual hunters. Nothing wrong with that, where everybody's welcome in our sport. But I do find that when you can flip that switch and now it's go time, those guys and gals are significantly more successful overall.
Awesome. Well, listen, let's recap here. Go ahead.
Just one quick question. Sure. Being that you're in the Air Force, would there be any chance that I could use an RPA during a hunt?
An RPA? I think the closest I can get you that is a non-season airplane flight in one of our airplanes to go see the Grand Canyon or something like that. That's probably the closest thing we can do. All right. I appreciate the question, though. It's funny. I've been out long enough now that some of these briefings and stuff that I keep in on, I'm a little bit out of the loop, and it's a little bit embarrassing. I mean, I think about it now. I've been out for almost 20 years. So
okay, so it's changed a little bit.
It's changed a lot. I still follow it. I still got a lot of friends that are very, very connected. A lot when became defense contractors, and I follow global events very, very closely. Not news, but actually like what's going on with the actual people involved. And it's just made me that much more patriotic. It's made me that much more motivated to use our companies and our memberships to fund philanthropy for efforts like that. Yep. Something I'm very, very proud of. So I appreciate the question. All good things will come to you when you become a member, and we're excited to have you on board.
Totally nonsense question as we wrap up today. Mike, I have a son. I call him a kid because he's my kid. I have a son that's in the U.S. Navy and has been for about 12 years now. And, I asked him some of the differences between the branches of the armed services. He said, I said, what is about the Navy and the Air Force that's different? He said, the Navy guys are all like a family, blah, blah, blah. He said, but the Air Force guys get all the cool stuff first, is what he's told me.
We have a lot of great rivalries with all the service branches, for sure.
Yep.
Whether it's sport, whether it's day-to-day, back and forth. But I will tell you this, you guys already know this, but I'll say this anyways. When the horn goes off, there is nothing like it. And there's no more brother, sisterhood. There is no more, all that rivalry is gone.
Yep.
And you better hope to God you're not an enemy of the United States of America when we all put our war hats on.
Perfect. That's a perfect way to end. So to wrap up, man, I got chills just when he said that.
Yep.
To wrap up, Dan Adler is the owner of Diamond Outfitters and Zero Outfitters. Check out their website at zerooutfitterfees.com and Diamond Outfitters, the largest big game hunting guide service. And it sounds like if you're looking for it, they got it. I mean, from species to processes with tags and draws and that sort of thing. And you heard it here first today, folks. Dan said if you sign up for Zero Outfitters at zerooutfittersfees.com, he's going to buy your Houston Safari Club Foundation membership. So, Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to see you here in Texas here in a few months, and we really appreciate your time. Forgot a shameless plug here. Check out their podcast. They've got a podcast called The Hunt with Matt and Dan on all your favorite podcast platforms. So, Dan, thanks once again for being with us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And God bless America. And thank you for your contributions, both of you, to conservation.
Thank you, sir. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Hunting Matters is a Houston Safari Club Foundation production, hosted by HSCF Executive Director Joe Betar and Ramon Robles. Produced by Ramon Robles. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. For questions or more information, email us at info@wehuntwegive.org.